The Anatomy of Weakness, Nietzschean, Strategies of Power. Before we begin, internalize one truth. The world is not a safe place. If you believe in justice, corporate ethics, or the kindness of those around you, you have already lost. You are not a person with dreams. You are a biological resource. In the social hierarchy, you are either the one who dictates the terms or the one at whose expense those terms are fulfilled. Your excuses are the scent of blood for a predator. Every time you utter, "I could not because," you voluntarily offer your throat to the fang. Friedrich Nietzsche did not write for the weak. He wrote for those who are ready to kill the human, all too human within themselves, to become something greater. We begin the dissection of your weakness. Chapter 1. The Anatomy of an Apology, the Illusion of Safety Effect. 1. The Collision Phase. The conference hall on the 42nd floor is flooded with cold, sterile light. Marcus, a senior partner of the firm, sits at the head of the table. His posture is the embodiment of ethological dominance. His elbows are spread wide, his fingers are interlaced in a lock, and his chin is slightly lowered, which makes his look from under his brows as heavy as lead. Opposite him is Arthur. He has just failed the deadlines for the merger of assets. "Arthur, I am waiting for explanations." The voice of Marcus is quiet, almost a whisper. In social strategy, a whisper is the highest form of power. You have to strain to hear it. You are already in his power. Arthur swallows. His Adam's apple twitches, an involuntary signal of fear. The limbic system sends the run signal. "Marcus, listen. The analysts sent the data too late, and my team." He pauses, looking for sympathy in the eyes of the opponent, but finds only ice. "We worked all weekend, but the servers went down on Sunday evening. It was a force majeure." Arthur leans forward. His shoulders are raised, a defensive position, an attempt to cover the carotid artery. He smiles. It is not joy. It is a grimace of submission, an attempt to reduce the aggression of the alpha. Marcus is silent. 1 second. 2. 5. The silence becomes thick, like molasses. Arthur begins to sweat. He feels the need to fill this vacuum. "I mean, we will fix everything by Wednesday. Truly. I will personally supervise it myself." Arthur's inner voice. "God, why am I talking this nonsense? He sees that I am afraid. Shut up." "No, continue. Otherwise he will decide that I do not care." 2. The psychological X-ray phase. What we are observing is called cognitive suppression through an information vacuum. Marcus does not attack Arthur with words. He allows Arthur to attack himself. Neurochemistry. Cortisol is currently raging in Arthur's body. The brain has switched to survival mode, turning off the prefrontal cortex, responsible for logic, and giving power to the amygdala. The result? He begins to babble. An excuse is an attempt to regain control where it has already been lost. Gaslighting of the self. Arthur is trying to convince Marcus of his innocence, but in reality he is trying to convince himself. He uses an external locus of control, blaming servers, analysts, and circumstances. Ethology. In the animal world, an individual that begins to justify itself, demonstrating its belly or whimpering, officially recognizes its lower status. Marcus reads this instantly. From this moment, Arthur is not a partner to him, but a tool that has started to malfunction. 3. The psychological precedent. Phase. In the 1960s, social psychologist Stanley Milgram conducted his famous experiment on obedience. The subjects, teachers, were supposed to give electric shocks to learners for mistakes. When the learners screamed in pain, the teachers became nervous, sweated, and began to justify themselves to the experimenter. They said, "It is you who makes me do this." It is not my fault. These are the rules of the experiment. Milgram proved. A person is ready to commit any baseness or show any weakness if they have the opportunity to shift responsibility onto external circumstances or authority. Arthur right now is the teacher from the Milgram experiment. He is trying to give his responsibility to servers and analysts, hoping that Marcus will accept this sacrifice. But in the world of Nietzsche, authority is you yourself. By shifting responsibility, you give away your power. 4. The counter-strike phase. Marcus interrupts the flow of Arthur's words with a short gesture. Your explanations are an epitaph on your career, Arthur. I do not care about the servers. I do not care about your weekends. Your excuses tell me only one thing. You do not control your reality. And if you do not control it, I will find someone who can. Arthur freezes. At this moment, he should have applied the first rule of Nietzsche. Lesson number 1. Kill the slave morality within yourself. Never explain why. Strategic decision. If you have made a mistake, acknowledge the fact but do not provide context. Context is an attempt to beg for forgiveness. The overman does not ask for forgiveness. He states the condition of the system and offers a path to power. How Arthur should have answered, Marcus, the merger is not completed. The data will be on the table tomorrow at 9 a.m. The issue is resolved. Inner dialogue. No buts, no sorries. I am the owner of this problem, and I am its solution. My value is not in the absence of mistakes, but in the ability to absorb them. 5. The sensory immersion phase. The office smells of expensive perfume with notes of sandalwood and ozone from the working air purifiers. This scent is the scent of sterile power. Outside the window, the lights of the night city seem like cold sparks at the bottom of a deep well. You feel the skin on the back of your head tighten from tension. The ticking of the expensive watch on Marcus's wrist sounds like the countdown of a bomb. There is no room for pity here. There is only a predator waiting for the victim to finally exhaust themselves to deliver the final blow. Do you feel this cold? This is reality. Are you still here? It means the first lesson did not make you slam the laptop in search of a comfort zone. This is a good sign. You are beginning to understand that your humanity is just a poorly fitted bulletproof vest that weighs too much and protects against nothing. We move to the next level. If the first chapter was about words, the second is about hierarchy and how you voluntarily feed your will to the collective good. Chapter 2. The Dictatorship of Sympathy. The Trap of Slave Morality. 1. The Collision Phase. A contemporary art gallery in London's Mayfair. Snow-white walls, panoramic windows behind which cold rain pulses. Inside is the scent of selective perfume and the barely perceptible metallic aroma of champagne. Eleanor, the managing director of a venture fund, stands by a canvas that looks like a bloodstain on a sterile canvas. She holds a glass as if it were the hilt of a stiletto. Nearby is Sarah, her deputy, who has just lost a key investor because she did not want to pressure him during a difficult period for his family. He just buried his father, Eleanor. Sarah speaks insinuatingly, trying to create a resonance to find a spark of compassion in her boss. She touches her necklace, a gesture of self-presentation and an attempt to calm the vagus nerve. I decided that an aggressive closing of the deal now would destroy our long-term relationship. We are humans, after all. Sarah tilts her head slightly, a signal of vulnerability, a search for empathy. In her eyes is the glow of righteousness. She believes that her kindness is her strength. Eleanor does not turn her head. Her gaze is fixed on the painting. She takes a tiny sip. We are humans, Eleanor repeats. In her mouth, it sounds like a diagnosis of an incurable disease. Sarah, look at this canvas. The artist did not sympathize with the paint. He forced it to submit to his will. Eleanor's inner monologue. She is trying to use morality as a shield for her cowardice. She is afraid of conflict, afraid to take on the role of a predator, and therefore she calls her weakness humanity. Pathetic. But we have maintained the reputation of an ethical company. Sarah's voice wavered by half a tone, loss of control over vocal cords under the pressure of nonverbal cold. Reputation is a currency that cannot be exchanged for bread when you are bankrupt. Eleanor finally turns. Her eyes are two scanners recording Sarah's dilated pupils. You did not sympathize with him. You were simply afraid to take what belongs to us because you are afraid of looking bad in his eyes. You preferred your comfortable role of a good person over our victory. 2. The psychological X-ray phase. What Sarah is doing, Friedrich Nietzsche called slave morality. It is a survival strategy for the weak, to declare everything strong, aggressive, and powerful as evil, and everything weak, submissive, and suffering as good. Cognitive bias. Sarah uses justification through virtue. She replaces her inability to dominate with an ethical choice. This is a classic ego defense. I did not lose. I was simply too good of a person to win. Neurochemistry. When Sarah speaks of sympathy, her brain releases oxytocin. It is the hormone of attachment, which in the wild helps the herd stick together. But in conditions of a rigid hierarchy, oxytocin is a poison. It blinds, forcing one to consider the interests of the enemy as their own. Triangulation of morality. Sarah introduces a third party into the conversation, generally accepted morality, so that Eleanor feels guilty for her toughness. This is hidden aggression disguised as peacefulness. 3. The psychological precedent phase. In 1951, psychologist Solomon Asch conducted an experiment on conformity. A group of people was shown lines of different lengths and asked to say which one matched the reference line. All participants except one were undercover actors and intentionally gave the wrong answer. The result was shocking. 75% of the subjects agreed with the obviously false opinion of the majority at least once, simply to not stand out and not enter into conflict. Sarah right now is the subject from the Asch experiment. She swears allegiance to the morality of the majority because she is afraid to be left alone in the cold of her own will. She chooses to be like everyone else, kind and understanding, instead of being herself, effective and powerful. She betrayed reality for the sake of social approval. 4. The counter-strike phase. Eleanor places the glass on the tray of a passing waiter. The sound of glass against metal sounds like a gunshot. Listen to me carefully, Sarah. Next time you decide to show mercy at the expense of my profit, you will go to do charity work at a homeless shelter. There, your tears will cost less. Sarah opens her mouth, but Eleanor places a finger to her own lips. The silence gesture is a demonstration of absolute superiority. Lesson number 2. Step over good and evil. Your only measure is the will to power. Strategic decision. Never allow public morality to become your limitation. If you want to dominate, you must understand that ethics is a tool that the strong invented for managing the weak. Use it if it is beneficial to you, but never believe in it yourself. How Sarah should have acted. She should have closed the deal and then sent the investor a basket of flowers with a note of condolences. Inner dialogue. I took his money when he was weak. This is not cruelty, this is natural selection. Now I have the resource and he has his grief. The world has come into balance. 5. The sensory immersion phase. It becomes unbearably stuffy in the gallery despite the air conditioners. The walls seem too white, blinding, like a snowy desert. Sarah feels her palms become damp, and the collar of her blouse begins to press against her throat. Eleanor's voice does not sound loud, but it fills the entire space, displacing oxygen. You hear the soft hum of the city outside the window. Millions of people are now trying to be good, while their lives are slowly being digested by those who decided to be strong. Do you feel this smell? This is the smell of ozone before a storm, and you in this storm are either the lightning or the tree that it will strike. Are you still here, clinging to my words like a drowning person to a piece of wreckage? Do you hope to find consolation here? In vain. I am not here to patch your wounds, but to cauterize them with the red-hot iron of truth. We move to the third chapter. Most people perceive failure as a signal to retreat. They call it evil fate or injustice. For the overman, failure is not a wall, it is gravity that he uses to accelerate. Chapter 3. Amor Fati, the art of turning poison into medicine. 1. The collision phase. The 68th floor of the unfinished skyscraper, the monolith. There are no glass walls yet, only bare concrete and steel beams reaching into the leaden London sky. The wind whistles through the rebar, resembling the groan of a dying beast. Julian, the ambitious architect of the project, stands at the very edge. In his hands is an official notice of the revocation of the construction license. His partners betrayed him. His project was declared unsafe due to the bureaucratic games of competitors. 10 years of life have just turned into ash. Isabella appears nearby. She is a lawyer for the holding company that has just absorbed the remains of Julian's company. She is dressed in a flawless cashmere coat, which seems provocatively soft against the background of the rough concrete. This is the end, Julian. Her voice does not express triumph, only dry statement of fact. Your name has been dragged through the mud. Tomorrow the press will call you a madman who almost built a grave. Julian clenches his fists. His knuckles have turned white. He feels his jaw muscles spasm, bruxism, a sign of suppressed rage and helplessness. It was a setup, he spits out. They bribed the inspectors. It is unfair. I followed all the rules. Julian's inner monologue. Why me? I am a genius. I saw this city differently. The whole world is against me. I want them to suffer as I do now. Isabella takes a step closer. She is not afraid of heights. She looks at him like an exhibit in a paleontology museum. Unfair? She smirks, and this sound is colder than the wind. You cry about rules in a world where the winners write the rules, so that people like you do not interfere with them eating. You are right now just a piece of meat that complains about the butcher's knife. 2. The psychological X-ray phase. Julian is in a state of resentment, Nietzsche's term. It is a poisonous mixture of resentment, a thirst for revenge, and a sense of one's own helplessness. Cognitive bias. He has fallen into the trap of the just world hypothesis. His brain refuses to accept the chaos of reality, demanding a reward for correct behavior. When reality hits him below the belt, he falls into a stupor. Neurochemistry. His brain is flooded with cortisol and norepinephrine. This is the chemistry of defeat. Instead of looking for a way out, he spends energy on maintaining the image of a victim. His prefrontal cortex is paralyzed by emotions. Destruction of reality. Isabella applies the method of radical pragmatism. She does not give him hope. She deprives him of his last refuge, the right to self-pity. She forces him to admit that his defeat is his own fault because he trusted the rules. 3. The psychological precedent phase. In 1967, psychologist Martin Seligman discovered the phenomenon of learned helplessness. Dogs were placed in cages where they received electric shocks from which they could not escape. Later, when the conditions changed and the exit opened, the dogs did not even try to escape. They just lay down and whimpered. Julian right now is Seligman's dog. He is used to the system, the shock hitting him, and he just waits for the death of his ego. He believes that his fate is no longer in his hands. He chose the role of a victim because it removes the need for him to fight. He justifies his inaction by the injustice of the world. 4. The counter-strike phase. Julian looks at the notice in his hand. He slowly unclenches his fingers, and the paper is caught by the wind. It circles and disappears into the abyss. You are right. His voice sounds different. The tremor has disappeared from it. Only dry steel remains. This is not the end. This is a purification. My project was too dependent on their approval. Now that I have lost everything, I have also lost fear. He turns to Isabella. His gaze no longer seeks sympathy. He scans her, evaluating her as a potential resource. Tell your management that tomorrow I will publish the schemes of their shadow offshore accounts, which I found while designing their clean offices. Either they give me the development of the northern sector, or we all fly down from this roof. Without parachutes. Lesson number 3. Amor fati. Love your fate. Do not just endure the inevitable, but desire it. Strategic decision. The Nietzschean rule. Amor fati means everything that happened was supposed to happen. Do not waste a single second on if only. Use the wreckage of your old world as the foundation for a new fortress. Defeat is just information. Pure, objective information about where your methods failed. How Julian acted. He accepted the chaos. He stopped justifying his failure by external factors and used the situation of the crash itself as a leverage. Inner dialogue. Thank you to my enemies for freeing me from the illusion of security. Now I am truly dangerous. 5. The sensory immersion phase. At a height of 250 meters, the air smells of wet iron and rain. The wind hits your face, trying to push you into the abyss, but you feel your feet growing into the concrete. The noise of the city below turns into a steady hum, similar to the sound of a turbine. You are alone in this empty skeleton of a building. Around you is only cold, steel, and your will. Your heart beats steadily. Fear is gone, leaving behind a crystal clarity. You are no longer part of this system. You are the force that will reshape it. You are beginning to get used to the cold. This is good. Compassion is a rust that corrodes the mechanism of your will. If you have learned to take the blows of fate, it is time to learn how to deliver them so that the victim does not even understand who pulled the trigger. Chapter 4. The Mask of Dionysus. The Strategy of False Vulnerability. 1. The Collision Phase. A private club in Palo Alto. The walls are paneled with dark oak. It smells of antique leather and very expensive whiskey. Here they do not discuss the weather. Here they reshape markets. Christian, the founder of an aggressive hedge fund, sits in a deep armchair. His tie is slightly loosened. There is perspiration on his forehead. His hands shake slightly when he brings the glass to his lips. He looks like a person standing on the edge of a nervous breakdown. Opposite him is Benjamin, a venture capitalist of the old school. Benjamin sits straight. His posture transmits superiority. High status, shoulders squared, a condescending smile. Christian, I have heard about your problems with the regulators. Benjamin lowers his voice. A fake paternal concern sounds in it. This is hard. Perhaps you should sell your stake now, while the assets are still worth something. We could close this quietly. Christian lowers his eyes. His shoulders slouch. A demonstration of defeat. A classic, submissive signal. I do not know, Benjamin. Christian's inner monologue. Yes, look at my trembling hands. Feel how the predator wakes up in you. Do you already feel the taste of my blood? Swallow the bait, you self-important anachronism. I made you believe that I am weak, so that you would stop defending yourself. We all go through this. Benjamin leans forward, invading Christian's personal space. He is sure that the victim is demoralized. He begins to dictate terms that effectively destroy Christian's fund. Christian nods, takes an uncertain sip of whiskey, and, allegedly accidentally, drops a pen. When he leans over to pick it up, his face, for a fraction of a second, is out of Benjamin's field of vision. In this moment, the mask of a broken man disappears. The gaze becomes sharp as a scalpel, the lips freeze in a thin line of absolute control. 2. The psychological X-ray phase. Christian uses the strategy of false vulnerability. In social psychology, this is the highest level of manipulation, managing the opponent's perception through a demonstration of controlled weakness. Cognitive dissonance. Benjamin sees before him a strong player who suddenly broke. His brain demands a simplification of the picture. He chooses to believe in weakness because it flatters his ego. Reverse halo effect. We are used to thinking that successful people always transmit confidence. When someone shows a crack in their armor, we automatically consider them defenseless. This is a biological error. A predator pretending to be wounded is the most dangerous. Neurochemistry of dominance. Benjamin has a surge of dopamine right now. He feels an impending victory. Dopamine narrows the field of vision, forcing him to ignore the details of the contract that Christian, in the confusion, slid for him to sign. He is blinded by his own triumph. 3. The psychological precedent phase. In 1966, social psychologist Elliot Aronson described the so-called pratfall effect. In the course of the experiment, it was proved that a highly competent person who makes a small mistake, for example, spills coffee on themselves, is perceived by others as more attractive and trustworthy. Why? Because their perfection is intimidating and weakness makes them human and safe. Christian has elevated this effect to the absolute. He does not just spill coffee. He simulates a systemic crash. He uses his vulnerability as camouflage. Benjamin has stopped seeing him as a threat, and it is precisely at this moment that he lost. Benjamin's mistake is that he took the mask for the face. 4. The counter-strike phase. Benjamin pushes the papers. Sign, Christian. Let us end this nightmare for you. Christian straightens up, instantly. His spine becomes a steel rod. The tremor in his hands disappears. He looks directly into Benjamin's eyes, and Benjamin physically recoils, encountering this gaze. You know, Benjamin, the nightmare is only beginning. No, not for me. While you were enjoying my breakdown, my lawyers completed the purchase of your debt obligations through shell companies. Those papers you brought me. I will not sign them. No, I will sign the order for the alienation of your mansion to settle the debts of your fund. Christian smiles. It is not the smile of a human. It is the grin of a machine. Lesson number 4. Your personality is a mask. Never be real, be necessary. Strategic decision. Nietzsche taught that everything deep loves a mask. Sincerity is a luxury that only those at the top or those doomed to the bottom can afford. For a warrior, a mask is a tool. Use false weakness to identify the true intentions of the enemy. Let them laugh at you while you tighten the noose. How Christian acted. He used Benjamin's instinct of superiority against him. He fed the enemy the picture that he wanted to see. Inner dialogue. Your arrogance was my best ally. You dug your own grave. I just held the shovel. 5. The sensory immersion phase. It becomes very quiet in the club suddenly. Only the crackling of wood in the fireplace is heard, a sound similar to the crunching of bones. The light of the lamps seems too yellow, heavy. Benjamin feels the chair beneath him becoming sticky. The air is saturated with the smell of old dust and defeat. Christian stands up, and his shadow on the wall seems huge, disproportionate. He does not leave. He departs, leaving behind a vacuum into which the remains of Benjamin's life are sucked. Do you feel this moment? The moment when the hunter realizes that he is the prey. This is the most honest moment in biology. Chapter 5. Eternal Return. The Seal of Absolute Dominion. 1. The collision phase, late night. A penthouse in the center of New York. Huge floor-to-ceiling windows turn the city into a carpet of electric nerves. Inside is twilight, broken only by the blue glow of monitors. Victor, the architect of this social cleanup, stands by the window. He holds a glass of ice water in his hand. No alcohol. The mind must be sharp as a razor. On the sofa, pressed into the expensive leather, sits Thomas, the very person who tried to undermine Victor, weaving intrigues behind his back for the last 2 years. Thomas is crushed. His career is destroyed, his accounts are frozen, his reputation is a toxic asset. He looks at Victor with hatred mixed with animal terror. You planned this from the very beginning." Thomas's voice is hoarse. He constantly licks his dry lips. "You allowed me to believe that I was winning. You are a monster, Victor. You have no soul." Victor turns slowly. His movements are economical, like those of a predator confident in its territory. He pauses, a long, suffocating pause. Only the hum of the ventilation is heard. Soul is a concept for those who are afraid of biology, Thomas. Victor's inner monologue. He is looking for a moral justification for his defeat. He wants me to feel guilt, to somehow level our positions. But I will not give him this hook. I am a pure function of success. "You will have to live with this," Thomas spits out. "Every day remember what you have done." Victor comes closer. He leans into Thomas's very face. His pupils are constricted. His gaze is fixed on the bridge of the opponent's nose, a psychological dominance technique that causes the target to feel helpless. "Live with this?" "Thomas, I am ready to live this moment an infinite number of times. And you?" 2. The psychological X-ray phase. Victor demonstrates absolute sovereignty. He did not just win, he appropriated the right to this action, cleaning it of any ethical layers. Neurochemistry of triumph. Testosterone and serotonin dominate in Victor's brain right now. This is the chemistry of a winner, which reduces sensitivity to someone else's pain and fear. Thomas is in a state of adrenaline exhaustion. His body can no longer fight. He has passed into the phase of submission. Destruction of projection. Thomas is trying to use moral masochism. He portrays himself as a victim of evil to preserve the remains of self-respect. Victor blocks this, refusing to recognize categories of good and evil. He shifts the conflict to the plane of will. Micro-mimicry. Victor does not blink. The absence of blinking is perceived by another person's limbic system as a signal of a predator preparing for an attack. This forces Thomas to cringe physically. 3. The psychological precedent phase. In 1971, Philip Zimbardo conducted the Stanford prison experiment. Ordinary students were divided into guards and prisoners. In a matter of days, the guards turned into sadists and the prisoners into broken slaves. The experiment proved the situation and the role determine morality, and not vice versa. If you have power and you do not use it, you are not kind. You are simply professionally unsuitable within your role. Victor realized what many of Zimbardo's prisoners could not. In the system of hierarchy, you either establish the rules of the game or you become their victim. And those who establish the rules do not feel guilt. They feel the realization of their function. 4. The counter-strike phase. Victor places the glass on the table. The sound of glass hitting marble sounds like a sentence. Listen to me carefully. Nietzsche called this eternal return. Imagine that a demon sneaks up to you in your loneliest night and says, "This life you must live once more and once more countless times, and in it there will be nothing new, but every pain and every pleasure must return to you." Victor takes a step back, again becoming part of the shadow. You are right now cursing this moment. You want it to end. You are a slave of time and circumstances, and I welcome this moment. I would live my victory over you forever. This is the difference between us. You are an accident. I am an inevitability. Lesson number 5. Eternal return. Live so that you would want to repeat every one of your actions forever. Strategic decision. This is the highest filter of your actions. If you do something for which you will later justify yourself to conscience or God, you are weak. The overman performs only those actions that he is ready to confirm with his seal for eternity. Dominate so that you never want to start all over. How Victor acted. He turned his strategy into his religion. He does not seek forgiveness because he himself is his only judge. Inner dialogue. I am the center of my universe. Time has frozen to capture my triumph. I am the will to power. 5. The sensory immersion phase. Cosmic cold reigns in the penthouse. Outside the window, the lights of skyscrapers are like frozen drops of molten gold in a black vacuum. It smells of fresh printing. Signed documents on the transfer of assets lie on the table. And cold metal. Silence no longer presses on Victor. It serves him as a background. Thomas is only a dark spot on the periphery of vision. Do you feel this purity? No excuses, no noise, only the icy clarity of realization. You are here, you are at the top, and this is forever. Welcome to a world without illusions. Imagine the top of a mountain. There is no soft grass, no singing of birds, and no warmth there. There is only rarefied air that makes your head spin, and a blinding light that does not forgive a squint. This is the will to power. It is lonely. It is cold. It is absolute. Your excuses were ballast that pulled you into the swamp of mediocrity. Your empathy was a chain with which you were kept in a stable. Your fears were only shadows on the wall of Plato's cave. Now you have come out into the light. You no longer seek approval. You dictate it. You do not ask for a place at the table. You build your own hall. Remember, the overman is not the one who defeated others. It is the one who defeated in themselves the need to be understood and accepted. Your actions now are a seal on eternity. Every step of yours, every cold look, every strategic silence, these are bricks in the foundation of your own world. You are a predator who has realized its nature. You are steel that has undergone hardening. And when next time you feel the temptation to apologize or show weakness, remember this cold penthouse, the smell of ozone, and the quiet whisper of Friedrich. That which is falling should also be pushed. Push your old personality into the abyss. You no longer need it. Knowledge of the mechanisms of the psyche is your main freedom. Subscribe to explore the hidden facets of human behavior together, and be sure to write in the comments which psychological pattern or strategy we will analyze next time. Let us search for the truth together.